Get grilling this cut match with certified Angus beef bone-in ribeye steaks, only $16.99 per pound. Whole seedless red ripe watermelons, just $12.99 each. Hellman's mayonnaise, only $5.49 for a 30-ounce jar. Hunt's barbecue sauce, just $2.09 for an 18-ounce bottle. Sargento shredded cheese, only $3.89 for a 7-ounce package. Shelley Bay, Heron Bay, Modern Mart, and Price Right Warwick stores will be open both days of cut match from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m.
You're watching Bermuda Tonight. It's Tuesday, July the 30th, 2019. I'm Diane Brewer, and thank you for joining us. Topping our news, residents at Battery Road in St. David's are said to be up in arms this evening over the removal of asbestos roofs at a next-door construction site that borders a nursery. The construction site, which used to house the St. David's preschool and other entities, is purportedly being redeveloped by the Bermuda Housing Corporation to make way for housing units. Tarai Trott visited the area to speak with one resident who claims she and others were never notified about the asbestos abatement, among other complaints.
Talking to Mrs. Peggy Burns, resident.
Battery Road resident Peggy Burns said she is at her wit's end over this construction site next door. High on her list of concerns is the removal of asbestos roofs, something she claims was done without any advance notice.
Yes, here again we were not notified about this intention. And as you see, I went to sleep Friday night, and I awakened Saturday morning, and the roof is off. Yet government maintained that everybody in this area were notified.
You were not notified?
No. And I'm not going to say like they use the language in the House of Assembly, they are misleading. They lied to us.
Why do you think you should have been notified? What in particular?
Because of the dangers of the asbestos dust.
Toxic dust she feels could adversely affect the health of anyone next door breathing it in.
The fact that we have a nursery here in spitting distance or a stone throw away from the building.
Furthermore, Mrs. Burns is not happy over the construction plans for the site, which reportedly will see several housing units built plus parking lots.
The problem is that we have not had consultation with the stakeholders. That would be the Bermuda Housing Corporation, nor our area MP or MP Lieutenant Colonel David Birch, who is the Minister for Works and Engineering. And the residents, most of them are at work, the majority of them are at work, have been calling for a meeting since November 2017.
A request, she states, goes back to the OBA government and then Public Works Minister Craig Cannonier.
Making a similar request that he meet with us so that we can take a tour of this area.
And there are other questions, Mrs. Burns says, have been asked, yet have not been answered.
All of these concerns we have, we want to know if these units are going to be for rent or for sale.
Instead of building housing at the site, she has her own ideas.
I would like to see it turned into a cottage industry. Several years ago, I visited Oak Bluffs and Martha's Vineyard, and I visited Cottages, Inc. At that time, there were over 100 women who founded this cottage. It goes back now, it's about 63 years old. And they were women of good means, right? And what they did, they would create items during the summer months, and they would sell these items to satisfy the needs in their community.
Contacted about this story, a government spokesperson telling us the Ministry of Public Works is aware of the Southside area residents' concerns. The ministry can confirm that the Minister of Public Works, Lieutenant Colonel David Birch, has recently met with concerned residents of the area to hear their issues. The minister will take their concerns under consideration. Tarai Trott reporting for Bermuda Broadcasting News.
Thanks to Rai. In other news, retention of heavy fuel oil and introduction of wind power as contained in the recently released Integrated Resource Plan from the Regulatory Authority, causing some concern among prospective players in the energy business. But Gary Moreno sat down with RA representatives today to get some clarity on what these decisions on these two energy sources really mean as they pertain to the IRP, which, as the RA puts, is a living document.
Belco had indicated in its upgrade plan that although the dual-fuel engines will initially run on fuel oil, they can primarily run on natural gas, which is cleaner and more efficient, and would thus significantly reduce emissions. It's understood the use of natural gas will result in a 25% reduction in carbon dioxide levels, a 100% reduction in sulfur dioxide levels, a 95% reduction in nitrous oxide levels, and a 20 to 30% reduction in fuel costs, which could benefit consumers by resulting in lower energy costs. So with all these purported benefits, why does the IRP not include natural gas?
So the IRP actually presents extremely high renewable targets, up to 85% renewables. And so that represents a decrease in our dependence on foreign fossil fuels. It also represents cleaner energy, greener energy. As you know, if you look at your Belco bill now, you'll see that there's a high component that has to do with fuel. And we can't control the cost of fuel. They fluctuate up and down. And so therefore, by decreasing our dependency on foreign fossil fuels, it leads to more stabilized bills for the consumers, and it leads to a greener economy.
Heavy fuel is coming from overseas. We're not producing that here.
And as you'll note, if you read the IRP document, that we're seeing a decrease in the use of heavy fuel oil. And so that is a significant increase in renewables and decrease in heavy fuel oil.
Could have been eliminated had we kept LNG.
LNG is also based on foreign oils.
But it's not as detrimental to the environment, nor is it as costly.
Well, along with the renewable targets which we plan to meet, there is a minimum amount of LNG which we would need to meet. And if that minimum amount is not met, then it's not entirely viable. So that has to be taken into consideration as well.
All that notwithstanding, it appears this does not mean that natural gas would not be a consideration for the future.
This is an iterative process, so there will be another IRP done in 3 to 4 years. This IRP was used with the best data that we have available at this time. In 3 to 4 years, there may be another best set of data available at that time. And that is part of our next steps. We have several pre-feasibility studies which we will be conducting, as also the government will be conducting. That includes a solar study, a pre-feasibility wind study, along with biomass. So those studies that data will go into the next version of the IRP.
The current iteration of the IRP does, however, include wind power. However, back in May, Denton Williams, the chief executive of the regulatory authority, told the Daily the use of wind power to generate electricity is off the table until a feasibility study is done. To make wind investments, you usually require investment-grade wind studies, which are year-long and conducted at the installation site. He noted that it was an expensive study, but added, provided the IRP says it's a good candidate, we would start looking at how we would do that and proceed to a detailed evaluation into feasibility. So how did wind energy go from being off the table to being included in the IRP?
We've identified wind power as a future source, and we will be carrying out pre-feasibility studies, which will be a year long, as mentioned by Mr. Williams, and they will help to further refine the process. And so therefore, once those pre-feasibility studies have been conducted, then in approximately 3 to 4 years' time, the RA will be conducting another IRP process. As this is a living document, it's iterative. It's not just saying we have one IRP and it's going to be the same document for the next 20 years. Each IRP process is based on the best available information at the time, and it's required under the Electricity Act to be conducted at least every 5 years. And so basically, we've used the information that we have now. We've identified wind as a source of renewables generation, and we'll do further studies and use the information gained from those studies to complete the next IRP process.
Now, while there is no doubt wind energy is by far better for the environment and in the long run is extremely cost-effective and far less expensive than fossil fuels, its initial implementation can be costly. The technology needed to generate and use electricity from wind power turbines and transmission lines can cost more than the technology for fossil fuels. And guess who will more than likely have to foot the bill for that initial cost? Gary Moreno, reporting for the Bermuda Broadcasting News.
Thanks, Gary. And we will have more from that interview in future newscasts. Well, coming up, the Progressive Labour Party reflects on its 2 years since the 2017 election. We have the latest weather news and much more. Stay with us.
If your doctor refers you for a CAT scan, think of Bermuda's leading private CT service, Brown Darrow Clinic, where we pay special attention to privacy, comfort, and parking right outside our door. And our scans are read at the Leahy Hospital, Brown Darrow Clinic, building trust one patient at a time. 297-3333. Now open evenings and weekends.
You can count on us.
Fresh Express Coleslaw, just $1.99 for a 14-ounce package. For your cut-match grilling, Purdue Fresh Value Pack chicken thighs or drumsticks, only $1.99 per pound. Wishbone salad dressing, just $3.49 for a 15-ounce bottle. Kingsford Match Light Charcoal, only $7.99 for a 3.1-pound bag. Blue Ribbon, white hot dog or hamburger rolls, just $3.59 for a 12-ounce package. Have a safe and happy cut-match holiday from the marketplace.
You can count on us.
I know I'm overweight and now my blood pressure is getting higher. At my last visit to the doctor, she mentioned that my cholesterol is also high. My doctor wanted me to come back more frequently and I wanted to work with her, but I can't afford the copay or my medicine.
Imagine a Bermuda where copays are affordable and every person can access the care they need. A message from the Ministry of Health.
Up-and-coming Noah Brown is making a name for himself in squash. In 2018 and 2019, he won the Bermuda Men's National Championships. In addition to his local success, he won a bronze medal in the 2018 CAC Games. In 2016, Brown graduated from Amherst College with a bachelor's degree in political science. During his 4-year undergraduate studies, he was one of the only 2 players to make the first team in all 4 years of eligibility. Since turning pro 3 years ago, his best world ranking has been 142. His major goal for the Pan Am Games 2019 is to capture a medal.
Welcome back. Public education, it continues to be a major talking point in the community and was a significant aspect of the PLP's manifesto while on the hustings in 2017. As the party celebrates its 2nd anniversary as the current government, Premier David Burt spoke with Gary Moreno about the successes achieved in public education by his administration and declared he intends to make good on one significant promise before the next polls.
Education is personal to me. As you know, my daughter will be starting at Northlands in September. The Minister of Education has his daughter in a public school. The Junior Minister of Education has his children in public education as well. We are committed to making sure that this system works. Over 2 years, there has been a cumulative increase of $13 million additional dollars that have been put into the education system. Other budgets, yes.
We're seeing good returns on?
Gary, that is because our public education system was severely underinvested. When you're talking about lack of education officers, when you're talking about lack of functioning computer labs, when you're talking about investments in technology over the years, we are making sure that we put our money where our mouth is. Education was the first plank in our platform, and there is progress. At the same time, we have to make sure that we ensure a culture of accountability inside of the public education system. Let me give you an example. There were instances in our public education system where people didn't have job descriptions. It is difficult to measure someone's accountability or measure someone's performance if you don't even have an accurate job description of which to measure them against. These are the challenges of which we see inside the Department of Education. I can say categorically that we have issues in public education, but I also know that the Minister works diligently day in and day out, and the Commissioner of Education enjoys my full and unequivocal support in the work in which she is doing. She has presented to Cabinet on a number of occasions on school transformation, on our views to phase out middle schools and introduce secondary schools at the senior level, and how to increase accountability in the system. And she must be given time to execute her plans.
You speak to members of the BUT and they would tell you straight up that We don't know how this phasing out of the middle school system is going to work. We're not seeing anything concrete. We're not seeing any sort of plan.
Because the consultation is ongoing, and when the consultation is finished, because members of the BUT are involved in that consultation, then that plan will be shared. But that plan has not been finished yet, Gary.
Of course, I don't expect to see that happen in 5 years either.
I do expect to see it happen in 5 years, and you can rest assured before we go back to the polls, we will deliver on that election promise.
Which is to eliminate the middle school.
Which is to phase out middle schools and to have signature schools at the secondary level, which focus on the varied needs in our community, whether that be trades education focus, whether that be arts and sports, whether that be business focus. That is what we're going to do.
Meantime, the ruling Progressive Party is reflecting on its 2 years in power since regaining the government in 2017. Our Gary Moreno recently asked party leader and Premier David Byrd to highlight what he thought was the PLP's government's greatest challenges and successes thus far.
I think that the biggest success, without question, is the fact that we have delivered on our pledge to increase access to opportunities inside of this country. And I always remember, prior to the election, a week before, knocking on the doors of my constituency, and the grandmother who was worried about the fact that she would not be able to afford to send her grandson to Bermuda College. I told her on that day, if she voted for the Progressive Labor Party, the Progressive Labor Party won, she wouldn't have anything to fear. 2 years later, 511 Bermudians took advantage of the opportunity to upgrade their skills and gain and either work their way towards degrees or advance certifications at the Bermuda College. That is the way in which you build the economy for the future. I'm proud of the fact that we reduced payroll tax for workers who made under $96,000 a year. I'm proud of the fact that we eliminated taxes for startup businesses. I'm proud of the fact that we increased seniors' pensions. The fact is that we have delivered on a lot of items that we laid out in our platform, and we are expanding opportunity in this country. A lot of work to do? Absolutely. But I think that over the last 2 years, there is an incredible body of work that the Progressive Labor Party is and should be proud of. I think one of the biggest things that challenge me is the slow pace of change, which we're looking when it comes to banking sector reform, additional entrance into the local market for banking competition. But I recognize that these things take time, and the Bermuda Monetary Authority is a very strong and independent regulator. They do not operate at the whims of the timetables of the politicians. They operate at the timetable of getting things right. So from my perspective, if I can say what I've learned over the last 2 years, is one of the things I've learned to be patient. But I also know that if you stick to the wicket, the runs will come. And I think that we have been very deliberate in making sure that we want to diversify this economy. We've been very deliberate in making sure that we want to provide Bermudians additional opportunities to participate in this economy. And I think that those things are beginning to bear fruit.
That was Gary Moreno reporting. Well, turning to weather news, our Wednesday is looking mostly sunny. Let's go to AccuWeather headquarters for the latest forecast.
AccuWeather is presented by BF&M Insurance Group. We now go to AccuWeather headquarters.
This AccuWeather forecast on ZBM has been brought to us by the folks at the BF&M Insurance Group. And here on ZBM, we're talking about some spotty showers here and there. There's an area of disturbed weather to the north and to the west that is producing some extra showers and thunderstorms in some areas. More in the way of heavier rain well to the north of Bermuda. But some odd isolated showers may still occur into the evening across the island and nation of Bermuda. We're at 85 degrees here, and some of the northern locations are really in a similar boat here. Light winds from the south, 5 knots. Humidity real close to 70%. It hasn't moved a whole lot in the past few hours. Water temperature is holding at around 86.5 to 87 degrees. On the inside, we're nearly flat. Waves around a foot or less. On the outside, 2 to 4 footers out there. So when we look at the tide chart here, we are transitioning to high tide. The tide is coming in until 8:13 tonight. It goes back out after midnight. Another high tide at 8:34 on your Wednesday morning, and a low tide to follow at 2:31 p.m. So tonight, we saw those little blips of green on that satellite estimated radar. We do expect to see some hit or miss isolated showers tonight. We stay warm tonight, warm tomorrow. Additional spotty showers tomorrow, highs around 86 degrees. And when we look at the Caribbean forecast, we have scattered showers and storms in both Jamaica and Barbados, and also down into Trinidad and Tobago. There will be a few hit or miss showers and scattered showers at times. We're tracking 2 tropical tropical waves that are a little more robust than some of the others that we've seen. They're well to our south. One is producing some heavy rain into parts of Hispaniola and Puerto Rico. That will move to the north and west, crossing the Turks and Caicos, staying to our south and west. Another one is way out over the east central Atlantic. And that one may be our first significant tropical wave to really cross from the Cabo Verde Islands all the way into the Lesser Antilles. Both of them appear to stay well to our south. Toronto, nice day, 79, less humid out there. New York City, scattered thunderstorms, a little stormy into Boston and hot there as well. Atlanta, scattered thunderstorms. Miami, 91, not a bad day there. And into London, the heat from last week is long gone. We're back into the mid-70s. So we have some scattered showers, isolated showers tonight, maybe a stray shower tomorrow. They won't be lasting long, but there will be a few out there. Into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, a drying trend. Highs in the upper 80s, really steamy out there into Saturday. Overnight lows around 80 on Saturday night. And then a better chance for showers returns to the forecast on Sunday with some periods of rain. We can't totally guarantee 100% dry weather Thursday and Friday. There might be a stray shower, but whatever develops will be so insignificant it will not last long. So that's it for your forecast here on ZBM.
AccuWeather was presented by BF&M Insurance Group.
And you were watching the Tuesday edition of Bermuda Tonight. With Emancipation Day just one day away, the island's racial divisions has come up once again in the national conversation. Bermuda Broadcasting News asked Pembroke Southeast MP Rolf Kamissiong for his views on what it'll take for the issue of race to become a thing of the past. Mr. Kamissiong singled out the island's white community, whom he feels can take action to help make that happen.
I think it really has more to do with the disposition of white Bermudians around this issue, and even some white expats, frankly, who have been here for some time. My views. I mean, we could have an interview that would go on for another hour on that topic alone. But I don't think white Bermudians have really come to terms with the type of society Bermuda was, and to some degree still remains, and how white privilege has always been a seminal feature of Bermudian society, even on today, for example. So, for example, let's go back to Mary Prince. I remember as a little boy growing up that the historical narrative that I was taught, and we're talking about circa 1960s and 70s, was that racism or slavery in Bermuda was benign, and that somehow the Bermudian white merchant and slave owning class were not like the whites in the South, what I call their cousins in the South of the United States or in the US, for example. But it's not true. And the only way you can make that claim is if the real history of Bermuda, both pre-emancipation and after emancipation, remained hidden, largely unknown. For example, Mary Prince helped to explode that, and not her alone in the Bermudian context, but she did. And now we're having young historians like Clarence Maxwell, like Theodore Francis, both professors, for example, who have just come out with a great book called The Prudent Rebels, for example.
Unity Fest is slated to be the biggest concert of the summer, with headliner Bougie Bonton, and it got a whole lot better with the local lineup being announced. So on August 17 at National Sports Center, you're going to see Bougie Bonton, Rainy Wonder, Agent Sasko, aka Assassin, and Massacre are expected to be on stage along with local artists Jesse Seymour, Kadanger, Live Wires, all backed by the Wall Street Band. And there's a whole DJ lineup for the night, including the mighty Stone Love out of Jamaica. There's also local DJs, DJ Chubb, DJ iBreeze, Juggling Jason, Black Star, Blacker Knights, Tony Cross, Ryan Saeed. And Unity Fest is hosted by Jabba and Young Chow of New York's Hot 97. There are limited tickets left, so make sure you buy them at www.unityfestivalbda.com. But if you want to buy them locally, you can get them at People's Pharmacy, Choices, and Summer Supermart in St. George's.
Now Earl Basin has tonight's sports report.
Bermuda bowlers Patrice Tucker and June Dill, as well as men's pair Damian Matthews and David Maycock, included competing in the Pan American Games in Lima, Peru. Tucker and Dill, competing in the women's singles qualifying second block competition, finished in the same positions they started the day in, while Matthews and Maycock competed in the men's singles qualifying second block competition. Tucker finished 27th overall for a total pin count of 2,189, while Dill ended in 32nd place with 2,093 total pins. Matthews finished 17th in the men's division with 2,572 pins, and Maycock finished 27th with 2,418 pins. Bermuda squash team of Nicholas Kime, Noah Brown, and Micah Franklin took on Colombia in their final Group B stage match in the team event. They would go down 3-0. Kime took to the court first to take on Andres Gonzalez, and he went down in straight games 11-8, 11-5, 11-5. Brown would then take on world number 3, Miguel Rodriguez, and Brown would stretch his opponent before falling 3-2. Franklin would be the final Bermuda player on the court, and he would fall 3-love to Juan Varga. Kim McCallan competed in the 2019 St. Clair River Offshore Powerboat Classic. McCallan, competing in the Pro Stock V class on board her team's 30-foot Phantom, drove her boat to a 6th place finish in the class in a field of 8 boats. McCallan was quoted as saying on social media following the race done, 6 out of 8, not bad. Brian Desmond rounded out the Bermuda swimming team's participation in the Canadian Junior Championships in Calgary. Competing in the 3-kilometer open water event, Desmond finished in a time of 43.22, crossing the line 33rd overall. Kaiwan Waldron was at it again, this time putting on a show during a 2-mile harness race in Canada. Appleby Hanover, property of Michael Allard of Holy Spirit for Team Allard, won the 4-round race of the series towards the 5 miles Chavalux, which had Kaiwan Waldron in the saddle. Waldron and the 6-year-old stallion crossed the 4 towers of the finish line in a time of 4:07.1. Gillian Teixeira was joined by Tyler Lopes as they competed in the Elzhoff International Horse Jumping event in Belgium. Competing in the CSI YH1 5-year-old Table A against the clock class, Teixeira and Gucci finished 8th with a clear round time of 79.80. Teixeira and Iluna Di Cantero finished 47th in a time of 78.87 while competing in the 1.40 meter CSI 3 Table A class. In the 1.35 meter CSI 3 Table A in 2 phases, both against the clock class, Teixeira and Chanita finished 9th. They clocked a clear first phase time of 48.48. They then clocked a second clear round time of 33.78. Teixeira mounted Escalada in the same class, and they would finish 16th with a clear first phase time of 50.39. Then they had a second phase time of 31.20, but they had 4 penalty full points. Taken to the ring for the CSI YH1 7-year-old Table A against the clock class, Teixeira and Chulupalina finished 10th with a clear round time of 71.37. Lopes competed in the 1.30 meter CSI 3 Table A against the clock class, riding Hamlet Di Cantero. They finished 30th with a time of 93.51, but they had 19 penalty full points. Darlington have released this season's official squad picture that features 2 Bermuda internationals in Osage Bascom and Justin Donowa. Donowa has been a trialist for Darlington, and it would appear that he has been offered a contract for the upcoming season. Neither the club nor Donowa have released terms of a deal. It would appear that Donowa will be lining up for the English club based in Darlington, County Durham. Daniel Phillips took to the tennis courts for his 3rd match in the Bilbao Junior Tennis Tournament, which is part of the Rafa Nadal Tennis Tour. Phillips, who was ranked 4th in the boys under-14 division, took on Luis Paza and went down in a 3-set battle. Phillips went down in the first set 6-1, but he would win the second set tiebreaker 7-6. In the 3rd and final set, Phillips would go down 6-1. Jair Mitchell continued competing for Team Holeshot Motorsport on the Canadian motocross circuit in the Moncton 250cc division. Mitchell finished 8th overall. He finished 7th in the first moto and then finished 10th in the second moto. I'm Earl Baisden with Bermuda Broadcasting Sports.
The Marketplace Food Court is you and your family's one-stop shop. Start your day at the Breakfast Bar with omelets made to order and traditional Bermuda codfish breakfast. The chefs will cook lunch and dinner to your liking. Along with the salad bar, sandwich bar, sushi bar, and fruit bar, the Marketplace Food Court is your kitchen away from home. Every day is hassle-free with nutritious meals from the Marketplace Food Court. Visit us 7 days a week. Homemade cooking, quality service, all at prices you can count on.
Cece Woolman began her amateur sailing career at the Royal Hamilton Amateur Dinghy Club at the age of 8. In 2014, she represented Bermuda in the Youth Olympics in Nanjing, China. And that same year, she competed in the CAC Games in Mexico. In 2015, she was at the Pan Am Games in Toronto. And in 2016, she competed in the Rio Olympics, her proudest moment. With international experience under her belt, Cece is looking forward to competing in the Pan Am Games 2019. After that, she'll be aiming to qualify for the 2020 Olympic Games.
And that's our newscast. I'm Diane Brewer. Thanks for sharing your Tuesday evening with us, everyone. Good night.